Okay, now to what we're here for. So the last Thursday of every month is this behind the seams event, and it's a different topic each time, and it's a different speaker each time. And the idea is that we can hear their journey and we can learn from them. Everybody has a different journey, and it's so unique, and it's inspiring to hear what it took to become an expert in that field. It's great for a student to know that there's no right or wrong. Your path might be different no matter what it is. And then we're going to get some insider tips and tricks and learn something from that expert. So if you've missed any of the other behind the seams, you can go to our behind the seams page under community, click on events, and you'll see behind the seams. And then you can scroll down, and we live stream them, but we record them and put them on that page. So you can go back and you can watch all the ones that you've missed. So it's great education. And then tonight, I'm really excited to present Mary Zarob, and she has a men's tailored shop that is called Q Contrary. I can never say contrary for some reason. It doesn't flow off my tongue, but I said it. I'm so excited. I did it. And I've actually known Mary for a long time. In fact, before Fabric was created, I had a directory of fashion businesses in Arizona called Label Horde, and that started back in 2002. And since that happened, eventually it turned into Fabric, and that directory is now what's on the Fabric website. And I've known Mary from way back then, and the fact that she is still in business is astonishing because it is really hard to be in this business. There's a lot of challenges, a lot of things that take people out constantly, and I've met thousands of them, and so it's very rare to actually make it, even with the help that we give. I mean, it really is, to be honest with you. It's hard to make it in this industry. So when somebody has been around for decades, they're doing something right, and we want to learn what it is so that we can all do the same thing. So we recently bumped into each other again one night, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're still doing this? We need to put you on the stage, and you need to tell your story. So I'm so grateful that you were willing, and you said yes. And now I'm going to start this. We can hear her story. You can stop hearing me. And the first thing I always do is ask our guest speaker to tell us about themselves when they were a child, because, isn't that cool to learn? Did they always want to do this, or did they stumble upon this? So let's start.
So, hi, everybody. My name is Mary. I grew up one of 8 kids, and I'm second youngest of 8 children. And my mom taught us kind of how to sew. We've always made crafts and pillows. I was in the Girl Scouts. We did all that kind of fun stuff. So stuff for my dolls, stuff just anything I kind of liked. I loved it. And being one of 8 kids, I didn't get a lot of mom and dad time. And so you kind of just counted on your siblings, and you hustled, and you kind of figured everything out as you kind of went. And also being one of 8 kids, they couldn't afford to pay for our college. So you kind of knew we all went to community college. And I grew up outside Chicago, northwest suburbs, and they had this really great community college called Harper College, okay? And they had a really good fashion program. And my dream was always to go to New York and study and live and just be a designer.
Well, did you know that from the beginning, when you were little?
No, not till high school. So I had a really good friend I went to high school with, and every summer she'd go to New York on Long Island and see her family out there, and she'd bring back the most amazing clothes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go there. I want to see these stores. What are the people wearing? We read W Magazine. I don't think it's still around right now, but Vogue, we'd always just talk fashion. It was a ton of fun. I had still my best friend. She's an amazing illustrator. So we would sit in physics and chemistry class, and I'd give her designs, and she'd draw them in 5 minutes, and I'd be like, or we would get in trouble. But it was fun. It just was fun being creative. At 18, 17, I did not know what I know now, but I was just kind of super excited, okay? So I applied to Harper. I got in, and I will have to say my teachers were amazing. So inspired. I came from an all-girls Catholic school with no art classes and anything, to meeting these women and men who were just getting us to do innovative things.
So is this this is before that?
Yeah, and this is we don't have digital photos back in the 80s, so I don't know. It was my favorite pants because they had paint all over them in kindergarten, and that's my family. That's my family.
That is your family?
That's my family.
Wow,
I'm in the middle.
There's so many of you. Where are you?
I'm in the middle.
Oh,
in the little vest.
Got it. Oh my God,
Yes.
how cute are you?
Oh my gosh.
That's so
I
cute.
pay for that blonde hair now, but it's good. But yeah, so then here's I went to Harper, okay? And we did this class where we made historical garments, and just getting our teacher to make us do the research and get the fabrics. And we always presented our garments on the models, on our mannequins, and then we'd go around class and discuss it. And so you could hear what the teacher would say about everyone's different design. And like, we all have our own opinions, but it's cool to hear it from somebody that had just a different eye, and learning that different eye for style and fashion and things in a certain way. It just was cool. And everyone just did things so different, more lace, more boning, more this, and fuller skirts and whatever. So, and they put on fashion shows. And we just learned a ton. And the one thing I loved is we would have our class, we'd do our pattern making class or a draping class or our tailoring class or a sewing class, and then we'd all sit and hang out. And so you can kind of see what everyone was working on. We all kind of became friends, and they kind of became this network for us. And some people are still in fashion, some people aren't, but it's just resources for us to like, hey, do you know this, do you know that? And we all kind of helped each other. It was fun. I loved it. And we were...
Oh, I was sorry to interrupt. I was going to just dig in a little bit on the actual program there. So like it's a 2-year AA, I'm assuming?
Yes.
And is it fashion design? That's
Yes.
the actual...
Yes.
Okay. And so when you did pattern making, like how much pattern making was there? Did you go from like block to adjusting it to become something? Like, did you feel like you learned pattern making in...
No.
Okay.
Not to grade. We did a little bit on grading, which means it takes me from a small to a medium to a large to extra large or 6, 8, 10, 12. No, we just learned draping on the model to putting that into a pattern to building the patterns from, some people taught us from scratch where you take measurements off the body and how to adjust it that way
Okay, good.
versus going like more production like you'd help with.
Yeah, because every school does it a little bit different. So I'm always curious, and when I was in school, it was very intense. The pattern making class alone was 6 hours a day and an entire year's worth of pattern making. And I still don't feel like I'm a production pattern maker. Like that's a lot to learn, and to shove into a 2-year community college degree, seems like it would be very difficult. And so I'm just always curious, like how much do they include?
And I mean, they had the good book we had, I liked, and you could take from it and you read it and learn how to grade and learn how to build other things. They couldn't teach you everything, but every semester we had pattern making.
Did you know how to sew before you went to school?
I did, but I did not know how to use an industrial machine. And you jumped in there and you learnred.
Who taught you to sew?
My mom.
Oh,
Yeah.
At the age that we saw?
Yes.
Oh,
Made
that's
Halloween
awesome.
costumes. They weren't on Vogue, but
That's
yes.
great skill to learn.
And it's a lot of practice. Like any talent, is tons of practice.
Yeah.
So even when I went to Harper, I thought I knew something, and I saw some students, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I learned how to put a zipper in, how to put a sleeve in, how to put all these different things in different fabrics. It was.
Did you learn how to sketch? Did you learn?
Learned how to, sketching classes, textile classes, draping classes. Oh my gosh, what else? Tailoring classes, which I loved.
Wow, they fit in tailoring.
a
That's
tailoring class.
amazing.
Which was interesting because everyone hated this class. And so you're going into it, your 4th semester, and you're like, oh, and I loved it. I loved it. I took it twice. I thought the teacher was incredible. I have this notebook. I still have all my samples. Like I would ask her all the questions. I made 2 suits because I just was like, I love this. And we did the fashion show. I made a suit for the fashion show. I'm like, I love this class.
Okay, I'm going to stop you because this is really hard. I mean, I've done this for 30 years, and there's no way you could get me to sew a suit. I mean, that's like a whole nother level. It's just a totally different skill set. And the fact that they even put that in the program is extra, because normally they don't. That's like you have to go on to do that. So that's really incredible. And the fact that you can do that and that you gravitated towards that, I would say the teaching moment here is that if you have a special skill that nobody else does or that nobody else likes, like pattern making, a lot of times you go into fashion design programs because you're artistic and you like to draw pictures and you have visions and things like that, and you get to pattern making class and you're like, ugh, there's a lot of math, this sucks, I hate this class, I never want to be a pattern maker. But then there's a couple of people that are like, I love this, I'm totally left brain, this is cool. And those people are the ones that make the most money in the industry, and they're constantly busy. So think about that when you're trying to get into the industry. There's a lot of other jobs, and if you can like one that not everybody likes, that'll lead to something great.
And everyone didn't like the teacher. She was so mean. She made you do this stuff. And I was like, I love the details. I love the intricacy. It's like I did other people's homework. I'm like, I'll just do it for you. I just love it. And at the time, I didn't know that I was going to have a men's tailor shop 25 years later, right? And I was just like, oh, I love tailoring. I love sewing. So at the time, there was a local, I asked my teacher, I'm like, I want to get a job. What can I do where, anybody have jobs? And so there's a local bridal salon that had a men's tailor shop next to it. So when I went for the job, they're like, do you want to work with the brides or do you want to work with the grooms? And I'm like, I knew you could not pay me enough to work with brides. So I was like, I love the tailoring class. I got the job with a tailor for tuxedos and evening wear and prom and all that kind of stuff, and got to see and do alterations with them. And it was a ton of fun. and got to see what the customer liked, like what he wore, what he picked, why he picked it. It was awesome. Loved it.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us what we're looking at here.
Okay, so this is me at the formal wear store. Okay, these are photos of photos because we didn't have cameras digital like you guys do now. And then that's my fashion show. And they made like a big deal of it. And you know what the funny thing was is like my parents came to and my family, so my siblings came to the fashion show and they were really impressed. And I'm like, well, what do you think I've been doing for the last year? And they're all like, we just thought it was like a hobby, like literally. Yeah. So I don't know if people tell you that. I heard it all my life. And they weren't trying to be mean. They just they can't relate. You know, my dad's a principal, my mom was a nurse, So they were just blown away. And I took this, the program in 2.5 years because I'd paid for school, had applied in New York. I wanted to take the tailoring class again. I had to finish all the other gen eds. I was working at the time. And when I applied to New York, you feel it's a state school, so it's kind of easy, done not like super hard like Harvard or something. You just put out an application. If they get approved, then you submit a portfolio. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I put it aside. I remember talking to my sister one day, and she's like, Mary, she's like, got great advice. She goes, people in your life are always going to tell you no. Don't ever tell yourself no. She's like, fill out the application. Let them tell you can't come. Don't assume you can't go. And I was like, still to this day, remind. So I worked my portfolio. My teachers helped me. I submitted. And in a FIT, I applied for FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology. You had to pick a major. Women's wear, evening wear, children's wear, menswear. At the time, I missed the women's wear deadline. But because I've been doing all this menswear, I was like, let me try menswear. And I got in. They expect you to fly out there and interview. I was like, I can't do that. I got a phone call one Tuesday morning. The head of the department interviewed me, asked me a couple questions. I was like just waking up. I didn't know what was going on. I tell my dad, he's like, oh, that's a good sign. And I'm like, the teacher, head professor was like, you should be here in town. Why aren't you here? I have people from California. And I'm like, I just can't afford it.
That's a crazy expectation that everybody's going to fly in for an interview.
It was that man, Mr. Blackman, next to me in my suit. But I get it. Now being there, they're like serious. They only took 50 people in the major, and I got in. I got the acceptance letter. I couldn't believe it. My parents were like, how are you going to pay for this? I'm like, loans, whatever. And I went, and had the time of my life. Love New York.
Because there was probably not a lot of people that were interested in menswear too. That like you stood out. Like, oh my gosh, this person's really good at this, and she likes menswear. That's so exciting.
And my classmates were like super cool. Like everyone was from all over the country, all over the world, had different experiences. And it was in the first semester, there was 50 of us. After the first year, only half of us stayed on because a lot of people just couldn't handle it or didn't like it or whatever at school. No big deal. You got to ask them why. And so then Gracia is in the corner. He was a master tailor, and I loved his classes. But the same thing at Harper, where everyone went to the workroom. We worked all the time. We shared ideas. We put our outfits on mannequins. People got to discuss. You get to learn different taste levels and why people did what they did, and then mistakes. Like the teacher would critique the mistakes and this, and like if you didn't go to class, the teacher wouldn't help you. He'd literally be like, "You haven't been to class in 2 days. Like I'll help everyone else, then I'll help you." So it was nice. If you're there and you're vested, you work hard. The teachers helped you. And I was always taught as a kid, you need an internship, okay? So every semester I go to the head of the department, Mr. Blackman, I'm like, I need an internship. And I got internships at different places. And in FIT, Fashion Week was happening in New York City. I volunteered all the time. I met designers. Oh, yeah. I volunteered. I got to dress Paris Hilton before she was super cool. I have her model card. I stole it.
Oh my God.
She was so nice. But we did it was fun. That's what the kids did. It was so much fun. I was 20, 22, didn't care, had the time of my life, meeting people, and it was just fun to be around other people and seeing the work and the cool designs and going to the parties. But yeah, it was cool. And you got connections and built relationships, which a lot of things in life is all about relationships. And so every year I volunteered or interned. And then they had a scholarship at the Menswear program. And I applied for the scholarship, and I was one of 3 students that got it. I got to go to some dinner, right? And I met some people who worked at Macy's. And they had an internship. They had an internship program, so my first semester I interned with them. And I worked with the designer, all menswear, and their private label, Alfani, Tasso Alba, Club Room, Bar 3. I don't know if you know John Ashford, these old brands. I don't know if they're still around. I think some of them are around. And I worked with the dress shirt designer, the tailor designer, the neckwear designer, the hosiery designer, everybody, right? And I cut swatches and I got coffee and whatever. But I got to sit in the meetings and I got to meet all these people and it was great. Well, then the assistant that I was working with, she went to a different department. And so I asked one of the designers, I'm like, well, can I apply for the job? And he was like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? And I'm like, great. So I'm glad I spoke up, but I got a job. 4th semester, a couple months in, I got a job.
So that is one of the things that always comes up is get your foot in the door. You know, they're going to hire from within rather than training somebody from outside. So I'm glad you mentioned that. This happens to everybody that I interview.
So my classmates also got jobs. Like, it was great. But even at FIT, it was like we put on fashion shows, we put on all these events, and like it was just cool to have that community of people. And at the time, Garcia, he owned a men's tailor shop in New Jersey. And I was 22 years old, and I was like, who'd want to live in New Jersey? He's like, you can come and have it, come work with me, I'll give it to you. And I was like, oh my gosh, no. So I didn't. I wish I did. Now, looking back, I didn't look at it lenses of how old I am now, but back then, and just to learn from him, like, amazing guy. So I got a job at Macy's where I was the assistant.
Should I be on another page?
Let's see, yeah, we can go to the next page. Okay. So these are just my fashion show stuff. So this is at Macy's. I designed dress shirts. I worked under, again, my first 2.5 years there, because I worked there twice. I worked with the tailor designer, the neckwear, all these different teams. And it was great learning with the product team who did the numbers and the sourcing and reviewing selling and what did well versus like we did the trends and the shopping. I didn't get to go on the shopping trips, but I mean, when they would come back with these samples and talk all about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, when I grow up, I can't wait to go. And it was just so inspiring. So I did that for 2.5 years.
Can we talk about that for a minute? Because I don't think a lot of people realize like that's the process. You literally shop and knock off things from other brands. Like that's a big part of your job as a designer, which is crazy, right? You'd think you're supposed to be coming up with things, but that was my first experience too. I had to go shopping and then bring back things that we wanted to make exactly like that or better or whatever.
And we would take like the patterns and redesign it. Or when we give a presentation to the buyer, having a small swatch on a CAD, she didn't get it or he didn't get it. So having a sample and making samples, yes, we did a lot of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you guys probably sent all that overseas, right?
Yeah, so we had a couple factories we worked with. We recolored it, did all the design, the presentation. They sourced it. They gave us lab dips. They gave us hand looms, which are little samples of the fabric. We approved the color. Then the buyer would buy. We go into production.
So what year is this now?
2000. I graduated in 2004. Yeah. Yes. I went after 9/11. So it was 2002. I went to FIT. Graduated in 2004, started working in 2004. This is like 2005 and 6 and 7.
Got it. Okay. So the sending of things was just email at this time.
Yeah, we had email.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm thinking back to, I'm a lot older than you, so
we had black
having to send things was a completely different experience and a lot slower.
Yes. But Macy's was federated. They're a huge company. They had offices overseas that we worked with. We had like people everywhere. But we would study. We had an East Coast buyer and a West Coast buyer and a buyer in the North and buyer in the South. So we designed different collections based on the neighborhood that all these stores were at and what they needed, which I got to learn what the customer in the different neighborhoods would like and what guys in California were wearing versus Pennsylvania versus Georgia versus Michigan, and like seeing the trends. And my product team would put every month the selling. So these patterns did well and these patterns didn't do well based on sell-throughs. So I mean, we have to pay rent. They have to pay my bill. You know, we're not just like making beautiful things. There's like people's livelihoods that we're supporting behind all this. And that was always interesting because the cool stuff we saw in the Paris and London streets were like never the best sellers. It was the very basic white and blue stripes, boring neckwear, suits. And I was like, oh, but the guy loved it. And so you learned what he liked and you learned what to pair with it and learned like just how to slowly evolve him into cooler stuff.
And that's another thing that I think people don't realize is like it's not going to be that creative. A lot of times, you're not just designing cool, pretty things. You're like, this sells. It's a boring button-down shirt. Let's go with it.
But when it starts selling and your brand does well, then the buyer and the product team, whatever you want to do, Mary. And so you build that trust with your team to be like, Mary knows what she's talking about. Just ask Mary. Whatever Mary says, evolve it. And we would test things in like, you know, the store on 34th Street in Herald Square and the one in, you know, San Francisco, but a little bit different than the one in Oklahoma City. Right, because we need to sell clothes. We got, you know, we're in a business. So yeah, it was fun. So I did that for 2.5 years, and I realized that my boss wasn't going anywhere, and I got an opportunity to go to Calvin Klein Jeans. So I left, and I worked there for about 3.5 years, designing men's knits, sweaters, t-shirts, graphics, all that kind. And it was so cool because that was when I would see people on the street in my stuff, and I would always compliment them, like, "Oh my gosh, love your shirt. Where'd you get it?" You know, I wouldn't tell them I designed it. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, my boyfriend that. You know, like, but I would always compliment them because I'm like, I wouldn't say I made it because that's not what it's about. It was about telling him how cool he looked in my shirt.
So he buys more.
So he buys more. I'm like, I'll keep my job. And that was cool. And it was, I mean, being at Calvin, I mean, Carolina Herrera was above us. There was all these other people in our building you'd see all the time. And it just went from like corporate America to like more edgy. And it was cool. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the big leagues. So I loved it. Mm-hmm.
And another thing I think we could expand on is how the designers are designing specific things, like you're the knitwear designer or you're the tops designer or whatever. So you want to explain a little bit about that?
So we had a design director who would oversee kind of what the jeans were doing, what we were doing, what the graphic design was doing, and he would kind of incorporate it all for all of us. And we'd have like core pieces we'd always do, but we would come to the table with ideas and he would pick, okay, love that polo with the tipping, love that graphic, let's put it here, let's reuse this here. Then I have to tell the graphic designer what graphics to make and what color, and the color palette that they'd all design. And then I have to tell my product team, this is what we're doing, and this, I get the prices on it, and then we got the samples. But it was kind of cool to see what the different teams were doing and how the outfits all came together. And at this time, people were taking our stuff at Calvin and knocking it off at Macy's. Like I remember being at Macy's and seeing a lot of our Calvin stuff there being knocked off. But we'd still go to Europe in a different way and shop different stores and just see kind of, even just on the street, what people are wearing. Because by the time I got to the States in 2008, 2009, it's like, now it's more instantaneous with internet and social media, but it was definitely cool to kind of see how it slowly came about. But my customer was still living in, Pennsylvania, no offense to like the flyover states, right? Iowa, Chicago. Like it wasn't like they're buying high fashion, they were going to like, Barney's or something.
Right.
But it was cool to learn what he liked and what he bought, and we looked at sales and numbers and colors and like do some really cool pieces. Then you see your ads everywhere and people wearing it, and it was really cool.
So what were your presentations like when you had to, say, this is what I think we should make to the rest of the group?
So we would start in the beginning of the season with color inspiration and graphic design inspiration. So just cut out magazines, find things on the internet, take photos of stuff, and just put a whole collage, have samples together, and just say, this season we're going after burnout shirts and overdyes and graphics and skulls and studs. And we would have samples of all of it, and then we'd have sketches of what we were gonna do, and we'd present it, and then they'd be like, okay, let's start making these. And then, or we like this idea, put it here, because someone always has an opinion. The people higher up always need to feel like they're part of the design process, and you gotta like make them happy. But it's a team effort, like it's part of business. It's not my store, like this is, and it was fun. And then you sample stuff, and sometimes we'd make our own samples. We'd go like wash stuff and over-dye stuff and bleach stuff and burn stuff out and like rip stuff and sew things and make our own samples. Yeah, abrade. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I call it.
That's awesome. Did you find that you needed some special skills that maybe were helpful? Like I'd say presentations, like speaking and things like that?
No, because we would just do it in a small group, and then my boss would present. And then when I got more experience, then I got to present. When people got to know me, but I made him look really good. Because I was happy to, we did it together, and I did he had other meetings, he had to be at being the director or senior designer, whatever his title was, so yeah.
Well, you're comfortable speaking in front of all these people right now. Do you think you got that from this experience, or did you already have this personality? Because that's why I asked this question. Like a lot of times I think designers don't realize that they do need to present to other people, and they need to be able to speak, and they need to be able to feel comfortable and confident and all those things, and that's not an easy thing for some people.
So yeah, like as a kid, I always I was a class president, my senior class president. I like to speak. I like to.
Of course you were.
I like to. I was a class president because I got to give the speech. I know all my sisters did it. I felt like I really wanted to do it. Okay, when you're one of 8 kids, if you don't speak up, no one hears you. If you don't eat your dinner fast enough, you don't get seconds. If you don't get up early enough, you miss the good cereal and it's gone.
That was where you learned all of this? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, but then when I was at Macy's, I did learn, even in college, I kept my mouth shut and I listened, and I knew what meetings to speak up in and not speak up at, because I watched what everybody else did. And not that it wasn't bad, but I was like, I'm in that room with that meeting with the head of the department, and I get to see what they're talking about, and I can learn why they pick what they pick and why they're going in the direction of the brands that they're going in. And then I wrote down my questions and I asked my design director, why all the things, And then we'd sit in a smaller meeting, and I knew when to pipe up and ask, and just kind of, and part of it was my gut. We were growing Alfani, and it was doing really well, and there's this trend on slim shirts in 2010. Okay, and slimmer dress shirts, okay? And they wanted to put it in the smaller brand. And Bar 3, which was not that big, it was in 250 doors, it was really small, versus Alfani was in 800 doors, okay? 800 department stores. And I piped up and I was like, Alfani's the bigger brand, why don't we test slimmer shirts in the bigger brand? And people were like, oh, who's this? And just learning, kind of follow your gut and who you're around, and you just kind of learn to speak up. But I would never challenge, I would never make fun, I would just kind of listen and ask questions, and just you kind of learn just who I'm comfortable with. And I also they like my designs, and I, just was able to hey, I have an idea, how about this?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Do you want to go back real quick?
Oh, yeah.
That's me now. One more thing. So after Calvin, I realized it wasn't going anywhere. You know, they weren't going to have two senior designers, a designer and a senior designer, so I went back to Macy's. So Nathan is this guy in the corner.
That the tree is covering.
Yes. So
I usually move this tree. Let me bend it down. So like we're in the woods here.
So Nathan, I worked with him. He was a dress shirt designer when I first worked at Macy's, and just the coolest guy. Like, just great taste. Oh.
By the way, you should sit right there.
Thank you.
For you, Michael.
Coolest guy, great taste. He would always find the coolest restaurants before, like, the New Yorker or the New York Times would write about it, and we would go to these places, and he dressed amazing. And I just always admired him. Great taste level, handled situations well. People respected him. So after Calvin for a while, we kept in touch, and he's like, I have a job, come back. So I went to work back with him at Macy's as a designer for dress shirts, which we did all this stuff, right? And I say that because, like, he was kind of my mentor in a lot in my career. Like, I'd ask him questions. He always had my back. He was honest with me. And I would say, if you guys can find a good mentor that you kind of respect and you look up to that has that taste level or whatever, he taught me the taste level I have because he had it. We would go to Barney's, we would go to Saks, we'd shop all the stores all over New York. He would give me magazines, check this out, what are you seeing? It was just fun sharing those ideas. And I think I have the taste level I do now and see things in fashion because of how he taught me.
I love that.
And so, like, we still keep in touch. He's still in New York working, coolest guy, but, like, working with him. And that's when, like, I came in with my designs a little bit different because of my experience at Calvin. And the buyer was like, we need that everywhere. You know, it kind of was just really inspired people. The presentations were more fun. I got to, like, because of my experience, I got to have a little bit more leeway and more fun. And Nathan was like, here's a magazine. This is where we get our color inspiration. Like, it was really cool. Because I can show you where you can get our color inspiration is going to be for the season, just opening a magazine and seeing what the ads are doing. Right. So it was fun. And it worked for our customer. We had a good time. And then, I mean, we built that business huge and we made a lot of great shirts. And then I just kind of got sick of New York. I was there for about 12, 13 years. I was dating guys that were from the Midwest. I knew I didn't want to raise a family in the Midwest, in New York. It was getting expensive. All my friends were moving away. So I looked and pivoted, and I got a job in Milwaukee at a retailer called Bonton. They're small. They're about 250 department stores. In Wisconsin, there's Allen Edmonds, Jockey, Kohl's, Land's End, and there was Bonton. And that was a terrible experience. Bonton was terrible. I realized quickly they just wanted me to make pretty boards, not have an opinion, that's fine. I was trying to convince these women who only shop at Kohl's and, you know, Target what fashion is, and they didn't want to hear it. And I was trying to, you know, I'm like, okay. So they paid me a lot of money. It was great because I hated it, okay? And I had expectations moving closer to family, and it didn't happen, which is fine. That's life. You make an, you know, take a risk. I was happy to be out of New York, and it kind of got me out of there and to figure it out. I remember one day, because we go over selling, and I had this red shirt. Like that red shirt at Macy's, we have 15 to 20% sell-through, which is a lot. Usually you get 3 or 4% sell-through on a good shirt. Every week in the fall, that shirt was 15 to 20% sell-through.
Can you explain sell-through?
So you buy so many shirts, okay? We place an order with the factory, with all the stores, and it'd be like 10,000 shirts. And you average how many you sell a week. That is a sell-through for the week. So on 10,000 shirts, if you sell 2, that's not very good. If you sell 2,000, you know, you sell 10,000, it's good. You want to sell through the shirts at full price because that's what pays the lights and the rent and your salary, and you want to give the customer things he's going to want to wear. You know, it's no point of designing things and people not buying it, especially in business. For me, fashion is a business, right? And it was just you try to sell through. So when the team would laugh at me when I'm like, we need to have this red shirt in the fall, and they literally were like, that's the ugliest thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the 15% sell through every month. And they sheepishly agreed to show the buyer. The buyer bought it. We put in the line. First week, 20% sell through. I popped my head out of my cube and I walked over to the product manager's office and I said, remember you see that sell through? She's like, I see it, Mary. To the point being that you're going to work with people who don't always have your experience, and you're going to have things, and don't let them necessarily change you. Just learn to figure out and how to, like, not give up on your designs and your ideas and things, and, like, power through it, right? So I would just, in sales, our numbers. The customer liked it. Listen, I know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to tell you that, give me, like, I know I want to sell clothes. I want us to make money, and they just want to do what they wanted. So I actually got laid off my job there, which is probably one of the top 5 best days of my life, okay? My brother's good friend is in real estate. That's the place you need to be. We put in an LOI because a letter of intent for the small nail salon on the other side. But on the other side of the shopping center, there's this men's store called Morta Giorgio. They've been around for 15 plus years, maybe 20, 30, a long time in town. He does exactly what I do. He's probably like 80 years old, right? And I was like nervous about renting in the same shopping center because I'm like, is it conflict of interest? Are they gonna let me, whatever? And my clients in real estate are like, Mary, you go to the mall, your competition's next to you and across the aisle from you. He's like, they have 3 hair salons there, they have 2 nail salons, don't even sweat it. And I looked up the man who owned the shopping center because it was privately owned. It wasn't some big company in Denver or something. Because I'm like, I wanna know if this guy walks in my store. If he walks in my store, I wanna know who I'm dealing with, right? Sure enough, one Tuesday afternoon, who rolls in my store? Mr. Hornaday. And I was like, hi, Mr. Hornaday, how are you? And he's like, oh my gosh, you know me? So we hit it off. Needless to say, Morta Giorgio, that store was only going month to month on their lease, and they actually wanted them to leave and me to take over that space. So it actually worked out great. And my store is next to this coffee shop where every morning is 90% businessmen that have coffee and conduct business, and it's been wonderful for my location, for my business. So I make clothes and I sell clothes for men. You know, I've evolved. The photos aren't there. Like, yeah. So it's been a bit of a journey. I'm having so much fun. I've never worked harder in my life, but like fashion is fun. You get around cool people. There's gonna be tsunamis and terrible people, but that's in any job, okay? Just like keep your relationships is the advice I'd have. Find a good mentor, be open to like ideas, and I don't know, just like, listen to the customer and what he or she likes, I don't know.
So you would do this again?
Yeah. As much as like any of you want to buy my store, you can. And I go work at a spa and fold towels, and like to have lunch at lunchtime. But you get a bride and her dress is like puckering, and she's getting married in 3 days, and her mom's crying because they spent a ton of money on a dress and it looks terrible from the back. And I can call my tailor and she'll come in and fix it, and we like. Helping people, like I love helping people. I love it in any sort of way. Like and put moments in life that matter the most and helping guys and girls just look good and feel good. So this is kind of funny. So this was the first day when I opened. This was how my store was. IKEA table, 1 rack, small. This is the key, okay? That was when I started adding fabric books. When I called all the mills, I'm like, I want to start this, and they didn't believe in me. They're like, whatever. That's all the fabric books they would give me in the gray jacket.
We have those same ones.
The fabric books?
In our sourcing library.
Oh. And then now, after 7 years, there's all the fabric books. Like they love to give me fabric books. Mary, you need this, you need that. And I'm like, pump the brakes. I don't need all of this. Like I'm overwhelmed. But I begged, and they don't know your vision. People aren't going to know your vision. They didn't know my vision and where I was going. But I knew I was like, I got to sell clothes. I got to pay rent. I got to live. This is what I love. And you just do it.
Wow.
So there's some of my customers. Listen, and there's my store. Look at this.
And that's the current.
That's where I'm at.
That's what it looks like today.
And I'm not trying to get 2 or 3 stores. I've learned my customers like to work with me. I don't need to be, I don't know, Neiman's or Nordstrom's or, have a million stores, help my guys. I want to turn my business from here. I want to get better. So as I learn, I don't know.
So I was going to ask you that, are you where you want to be? Is there, what do you think you're going to be at in 5-10 years? Or have you achieved what you want to be?
I never thought about that. People ask me that. I don't think about that necessarily. I've always wanted to be the go-to girl in Phoenix for men's fashion. That's always kind of when I've told people what I want to do. I want to be the go-to girl in Phoenix for men's fashion, and I want to help men find clothes that fit and look good. And I want to get maybe a little bit better brands. I want to get people in the store that really need, the great thing about men is they don't shop, they buy. So they come in, I need a jacket, I need jeans, I need shorts, I'm going on vacation, I'm getting married.
Do it for me.
What do I need? They're not like, this is cute, trying stuff on. They're like, no. So that helps me kind of listen to what he likes. And I want to get some better brands, but I want to, honestly, thinking about it recently is a lot of the brands do all the same things, and then I have to keep the stuff, and if it doesn't sell, you mark it down, no big deal. Make my own private label. And have certain pieces of sweaters, because some of my manufacturers can make sweaters, t-shirts, jeans, and do my own private label based on what these other brands are doing, which is not revolutionary, the core basics of whites and blues and denims and great sweaters, and then be able to reorder it fast versus keeping all the inventory and extra headache. That's kind of where I'd love to pivot my business. I had a tailor locally who made dresses. We were gonna do dresses together. I could rent out the next store and do women's dresses and hire all of you to work for me. And we would all make dresses together, and it would be so much fun because, listening to what the customer wants, every woman is like, I can't find a dress. So not there yet, but that would be like a really big goal, but I just need to find someone locally that could sew for me.
I wonder if there's a place that can help you connect with the right people to make your products. I think we need to talk afterwards.
Absolutely. But like,
let's make your dream come true. You're like, wait, maybe I don't.
No, because it's fun. I mean, people need it, and I love helping people. And like, yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, it sounds like you're like pretty close to where you wanted to be, and you're content with all of this.
Yes.
And that would just be like an icing on the cake type of situation. Okay, good.
Yeah.
If is there another slide after this?
No.
Okay. So if, like I said, if you could do it,
sorry,
there
this
is.
is like
Okay. Yes. I always make everybody put in their accolades. So I know it's embarrassing to like just brag about yourself, but please do.
So I want to get known locally here. So I'm not trying to pitch to Vogue. I'm not trying to pitch to like GQ magazine and all that. They want to talk, happy to write something. So I did Scottsdale Luxury magazine. Uh-huh. Okay, they wrote that article about me.
Luxury Scottsdale, right?
Yes, sure. And then that was Uptown magazine. I got featured a couple times in Uptown magazine, but the big one was This is Phoenix Business Journal. So for many years, I got to know the editor, and I would take him to coffee, and I'd be like, hey, pitch him ideas, and just, network, and I'd see him at events, and he's like, cool, Mary, yeah, and then we never go anywhere, right? I'm like, here's a cool idea. Well, then one day he calls me, and he's like, I want to feature you in the entrepreneur section, okay? And features me, great, talks about it, and then he also put me on the cover, so I'm a cover girl.
Yay, that's awesome.
And the cool thing is I didn't realize that the business journal kind of legitimizes you. And for 8 months, a year, still now, people have kept the email, kept the article, will call, hey, I read your feature in the business journal, I need a suit, I need this, da-da-da. So that has, the amount of business and the people I've met from that was like really cool. And which is cooler because they're actually my customers that I can help versus trying to be seen. And if you want to be in Vogue, go for it. But I want to be known locally here. So finding the good local magazines in it. That I was so grateful, so grateful.
I love that you were talking about like how to get into that. I mean, you do have to pitch these ideas. In fact, the writers are always looking for stories. And if you can hand them one on a platter so they don't have to do that much work, and that's in the form of a press release, by the way. You write a good press release where it sounds like an article, so they literally copy it and paste it and put it into the magazine. You have a better chance of getting into a magazine that way. And it's constant. You have to constantly come up with ideas. You can't just be like, write a story about me. It's got to be an angle, like what is a reader going to want to know? There's got to be something interesting happening here. Is there like another thing that you're doing, like donating to a certain cause or something like that makes it newsworthy? It's not just a story about you. So coming up with whatever that angle is, writing a good press release, and then putting it in front of all of the editors of the magazines that you think you need to be in is really what it takes.
And the cool thing, you guys are all in fashion. Not a lot of people in this town are in fashion.
Yep.
Okay. They want to know cool stuff. I've been on like the local TV shows talking about style and dressing and things. They are desperate for cool content. You pitch them a cool idea. You constantly reach out. You show up on time. You're really nice. You follow up with them, and you're reliable. They will hire you. I get calls all the time. I'm like, I don't have time to go do more TV segments because I just don't have help at my store and I'm overwhelmed. But even the Business Journal, it's all about what real estate is being developed, what new homes to the tech industry. You read that it's nothing fashion related. So I was kind of like, hey, here's an idea. And he was just being nice to meet me. And I'd see him at other events and I'm like, hey, let's go for coffee. I have this idea and this idea. And then he actually was like, I know you love sports. He's like, I got tickets to the Coyotes. Do you want to go? He's like, there's this cool, he'd invite me to like cool things are going on in town because it was just like, he was really fun and nice, right? And then it turned into like, he's like, I want to feature you. So he kind of knew, like the right time, but you follow up and you like give him good ideas. Like people, they need good stuff.
And that's free. That's like advertising you don't have to pay for. Right. So if you can get coverage in a magazine or on a news channel and you didn't have to pay for it, that's legitimate. When you create an ad and you pay for it, you're telling the world you're great. When they read a story about you, they're telling the world you're great and it was free. So that's really what you want. I think we've been featured in 200 publications and news channels and everything literally by this method. Just sending a press release to everybody and having an angle, some sort of interesting story. And there is not a lot of fashion, like you said, in Arizona. So they need these fashion stories and they'll be like, thank you. We need something to write about. So that's the trick.
And if you watch who's on TV doing these segments at the 10, 11 o'clock morning shows, and you see who's doing the makeup and you see who's doing, find out who they are, where they work, take them for coffee, how did you get in it? Those are all relationships you can, because a lot of my friends I've learned or I've known do all those things. And they told me to the producers of the show, they're like, hey, Mary has this men's clothing store, and I got to help them with a couple segments, and I got business out of it. It was great, and it was fun just to do something different than like be at my store all the time. Like this, it's fun to be somewhere different.
Yes, we were talking about that. It's like sometimes when you're the main person there or the only person there or whatever, you're there like 16 hours a day, and like when you have to go on the news or something like that, you're like, I need to finish emails, but then you're there and you're like, something different. It's relaxing. All right, is there anything else you want before we open up for questions that you want to share? Okay, first of all, that was amazing. You are an amazing presenter and speaker, and your journey is really cool, and it really is because of the energy that you have and that you put in, and the gumption that you have, and the way that you you just keep going, and you're just a very talented, skilled, human being in general, and it does take a lot of great personality skills along with industry skills to make something like this work. So kudos to you for doing that. I want to give you a huge round of applause. Impressive. Thank you. Yeah. What a great career. And sharing that with us is really meaningful. So thank you for doing that. So now I want to open it up to any questions. So if anybody has any questions, I'll walk over with my microphone so that they can hear at home. So raise your hand and I'll come over to you.
Woo-hoo. Oh, darn. Kidding.
Hello. What made you choose the name of your business, or what inspired it?
So the nursery rhyme Mary, Quite Contrary, How Does Your Garden Grow?
Will you put your mic back up?
Oh, the nursery rhyme Mary, Quite Contrary, How Does Your Garden Grow? My brother-in-law kind of thought of it. He's like, and I was just thinking of writing a blog. I wasn't thinking it bright lights on 32nd Street, right? He was like, you're contrary, you're edgy, you're different, be cute contrary. And I did read a book where if you name yourself something phonetical, people tend to remember you more. So that's kind of just was like cute contrary. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Hi. So if I wanted to get into like the menswear business, how would I start out? Like what would I do?
Well, you're in school, you're taking classes. I would just start reading about menswear designers. I'd start shopping men's department stores and men's brands and learning about brands and following different people on social media. I would find a job and working with somebody that is in it and learn. That's kind of how I did it. I went to school for it. I learned about it. I studied it. I got a job in it. I applied for another school to get even better at it. But yeah, get a job in it, get experience, talk to people, build relationships.
Aren't you hiring right now?
Oh my gosh, I need all the help I can get. Yes, I am hiring.
I think her listing is on our website, on the classifieds page, if you want to go see if you qualify and then submit a resume. That's a good question.
Hi, so I just have I like history a lot, so I just want to know, how did 9/11 affect the fashion industry? Because I know that was a huge event. I want to know how it changed globally and locally for you, personally.
So I moved to New York a year after that happened. And so it was very interesting hearing everybody's stories and just how it shook the city and the whole world in general. I think Fashion Week that year was definitely more close to home for everybody. I think people just kind of buckled down and they supported more businesses. They shop more. They cared more for people in a way of being one with the United States and America and things. I was in school, so I definitely necessarily wasn't working, so it didn't really affect me in a way, but people talked about it a lot, and it was just, you could try to go down as close to the trade center as possible, but just talking to people and hearing their stories. And honestly, I think it just kind of brought people together. So unfortunately, when there's a tragedy, it's horrific, but you just support people and everyone comes together. So when somebody needs something, help in fashion, to a job, to something in class, hey, you can write my notes if you're not feeling well, I can't come into class today. You kind of just come together in a more human support back then. And people still do it now, but I think that's kind of how we all kind of came together and supported. And you need a meal, let me take you for lunch. Let me pick your kids up from school. You need something, you need a day off, hey, we'll chip in, I'll work an extra day if you need a day off. Just kind of chipping in a human way to help everybody if they're going through a bad day because of that.
Any other questions? Yes. Missy.
Hi. So when you're you're looking for jobs and you're applying for all these things, do you think that the like main thing that they were looking at is that you went to a college in New York that was like pretty like high up there, or do you think it was like your experience? Like, what do you think was what caught people's eyes that they were like, I'll hire you?
So getting the job at Macy's, I actually had an internship with them. And I got the internship because I went to a dinner where I won the award and I met people who worked there. And one of my good friends, he knew some people at Macy's because he also interned there too. So he introduced me. So it was relationships, right? And then I followed up and I submitted a resume and I followed up and I followed up, you know, and like hustled for it, right? I also helped, I was in school, so the internship worked. And then I asked for the job. I was like, hey, can I apply for it? What do I need to do? You know, like, what are you looking for? And I asked multiple people. So not just the one guy, I asked other people because when the one guy was like, oh, I didn't think about that. I was like, okay, I got to talk to somebody else. You know, so asking, and not being too annoying about it. Like every day I wouldn't walk in and be like, are you hiring me already? Like, what's the deal? But relationships and getting to know people. And then I got the job at Calvin because my friend from college was working there and there was an open position and he knew I was kind of looking and he introduced me to Rick and I just submitted my resume. And because Jeremy spoke volumes of me, Rick was like, okay, and you have good experience. I'm working at Macy's. Macy's was a good company. It is a good company to work for. They're known in the industry for training their employees really, really well, right? So they had that experience. And then when I got the job back at Macy's after, it was because of Nathan. The relationship I used to work with him, we kept in touch a ton. He's like, a position opened up, come work for me. And I knew, and the nice thing was like I knew him. My previous boss, he was okay. He was fine, he was okay. But Nathan, I knew what to expect. I knew what it was like. I knew what the team was like. A great relationship. They knew who I was too, so it was a good fit for everybody. When I applied for the job in Milwaukee, there was Style Careers. I think they're still around. StyleCareers.com is a website that has jobs. And they had a job I was looking in Wisconsin, or menswear jobs. And I saw a menswear job in Wisconsin at Bonton, so I applied for it. And this was 2013. So yes, a little bit different now. I think with Indeed, don't quote me, all the things on the internet, but just, I mean, when I was applying, I put a job on Indeed, and I had people show up at my store, which please don't show up at my store, I'm so busy, but to stand out in a way. And people would just call me, hey, I submitted a resume, and I'd say, they don't know that I'm the only person working at my store and doing everything, and I'm like, I appreciate it, I will call you back, but if you don't hear from me in a week, call me back. But I'm also not the hiring manager at like some big store, it's just me, right? But just the consistency of calling and reaching out and putting the efforts in is what I would say. But back in the day, it was mostly because of the relationships and the people that I met versus now I know it's a little bit harder. But I mean, I hired someone recently, it didn't work out, but the person called and he caught me at the right time. And I literally was like, well, I got 10 minutes to talk. You got 10 minutes to talk. And we talked and he told me what I was looking for. I told him what I needed. We tried to make it work. It didn't work. No big deal. But like just calling and not every day, but like putting the effort out there.
That's a great question. And I think it's also a combination of both of those things because when I went to FIDM, the brands would come and just hire you right out of school. Like there was a career day, and if they knew that you had a degree from there, you must have the skills. And then that was an easy way to get a job. And then moving up in that job was because you already worked there and it was easy to move up. But so much of that relationship thing is, I think, the most important part too. Like who you know, and if when we hire people, it's like, I've already known you. I know what your skills are. I know what your personality is. I know that you're going to be a good fit here or whatever, whether you went to whatever school, So if you have all of that and you're here and you're like, I mean, especially like if you're coming to these things, so be in the presence of the place that you want to be hired at.
And like when I was in college, right, I was all on my portfolio looked like, and half the time they look at it and it wasn't that important. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm not having your designs, and I was always worried about that. But I think like where are you looking for a job? Like what's your experience like? Like like what's it like out there?
I'm trying to like find experience to like kind of get more, like I feel like I've done a lot of at home stuff and I'm trying to get like more of a professional look on it and like I don't know, just really experience of getting it professionally.
So where are you looking for jobs? Like who do you want to work for?
I'm kind of a low standard of sewing. Like I know how to use a machine, but I don't know every so I'm kind of trying to get like a base entry level job that like I don't need to have a lot of know-how, but I'm like willing to put in the effort to like get the know-how, like if they have training for me, sort of thing.
Okay, so don't talk like that in the nicest way.
Okay.
I have skills, I know how to sew, but I'm looking to be better. So when you sell yourself short, like that's just not. You guys are better than you think you are. Like really, like honestly, like you said earlier, we were talking and she's like, oh, my small brand. No, small brand. Like I have a brand, like you'll only get better with experience. And in the nicest way, someone's going to look at you and see you're young. They don't expect you to be able to sew like, couture garments by hand and like do whatever. I mean, if you can, then they'd be calling you, so just call people, ask for experience, look for jobs, find out, see if other people have worked there, talk to other people who are doing it, but just apply and call and I don't know if you can show up, but just say, hey, and reapply. I think there's a lot of places that have sewing jobs. They're looking for like tailors or alterations people, and I know Nordstrom's is, some of the different stores are. You just go apply and try. Or find a tailor shop locally and see if they have a tailor there that you can work under and next to. Like that's what I would suggest.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
When we have our clothing swap here, people can volunteer to do alterations for people that day too. Maybe that would be a good start, something like that. Look for things like that where you can get a little bit more experience. And I know you and how amazing you are and reliable you are and things just from you being here and interning and doing all of that stuff. So again, like if there's a place that you want to work, just try to be in their presence and, be available, and then they'll see how awesome you are too and want to hire you. If I could hire you, I would if we had an opening, just because. Any other questions? Oh, yay, Hiroko.
Thank you. Hi, how are you? Nice to
I'm
meet
great,
you.
thank you.
I just started my brand last year, and then I don't have a store, boutique, and online only. And I'm trying to selling, online, but it's hard to selling to people because my brand is an unknown brand. So I'm trying to use in Instagram and posted many style and stuff too, but it doesn't connect to the sell to the I'm using the media, but it doesn't connect to that to sell. So what if you have no store, just only online? How do you approach, or how do you make a sell?
What are you making? What are you designing? Who's your customer?
For traveling, active travel people, this is actually, just made it something comfortable and, easy to put on, off, and then also the no wrinkle, wrinkle resistance, and then also, something busy people travel, and then but still stylish,
So I have a couple different ideas. So I have an online store. I use Shopify. Do you know who Shopify, the platform?
That's what I'm using.
Okay. So on my online store, I put videos in every product that I sell. So I'll hold up the polo shirt, and you can look at, I have business cards. You can find my online store and see what I do. And I put a video, and I talk about, here's this really great polo shirt. Here's the brand. This is how it fits. This is how to wear it. Here, see it in person. People love that, okay? I also have a men's store, so more men are on YouTube. So I put a ton of YouTube content out there. But for you, my thought would be, would you volunteer to do a pop-up shop at hotels where people are traveling, and call the Biltmore, call Camelback Inn, call some of these different places that put on different events, and see if you can showcase your stuff and be available and stand there and meet their guests and just get to know the customers. Find other it's not craft fair because that's not, but you know what it is, like a nicer pop-up thing where yoga experiences or wellness retreats or stuff like that are a little bit more expensive and higher end, and I would drive up to hotels and find out who the buyer is and say, can I put some stuff here and see if it would sell? Can I show up and meet your customers? You're having a big wellness retreat next week. Can I volunteer my time and bring a couple racks of clothes in and take up this space? And can I be available? Like Sarah Blakely, right? Her story, everyone knows who Sarah Blakely is. Yes. She started Spanx. Okay. If not, go on How I Built This. It's an NPR show. I used to teach at college. I used a tailoring class at Phoenix College, and I play How I Built This for the students when we were working, and it was so much fun. They loved it. Listen to Sarah Blakely's, but she would just go around and around and try to sell it to the different people. But I would find out the nicest wellness retreats between here, New Mexico. Believe it or not, New Mexico has got some really high-end golf courses, hotels, 5-star hotels in California, and see if you can just schedule events and just religiously go around and pop up and meet people and get information and have the customer feel the fabric. and just hustle that way in a different way, or find a local boutique that's a women's boutique and just say, hey, you don't have to pay me anything. I have a guy selling his hats in my store. He just, whatever I sell him, then I give him the money when I sell it. Or just see if you can try that way and do an event and see if the person of the store would allow you to put your stuff. Find a yoga studio or a Pilates studio or some of these, what is it called? The Village. The Village is a high-end gym. I would find out other high-end gyms if that's kind of, and I just say this as I'm going down the gym with the travel and this because, I don't know, am I going the right path? But, right? We can sit and brainstorm ideas. I can help you sit and listen, but just, I mean, when I hustled to try to get appointments, no one would respond. My customers, every 3-4 months, I call, and then they call me, Mary, I got all your messages, I'm ready for it now. So just staying top of mind, popping in, if you feel it's a good thing, send the buyer a sample, but just get in person and try to meet people and get in stores to try to sell it that way, but also put videos on your content and just find boutiques that you think you would fit in there and call the owner and see if you could sell there.
So I went to several, actually many, almost over 20 boutiques, including California and here too. But most of the time they said, oh, the manager is not here, you should email me. And I tried to email and no, response. And I tried to call and they said, no, you were busy, you have to email back. And I tried to email again, but no response again. So it just, they kind of pushed me out, and because I'm known, and they said, oh, we have so many, designer like you, and we're so busy, the manager's busy, they have to take a look at the email, and if they are interested in, we're gonna contact with you. So it's really hard to connect with the people.
If it was easy, everyone would have a fashion line.
Right,
yes.
right.
I'm sorry you have that experience. I'm sorry. But maybe a smaller, I don't, just keep at it. Find a retreat, find something where maybe more people would be at. Anybody else have a suggestion? Anybody else?
I love your idea about the hotels and the retreats and things like that, because I don't think that you've tried that yet. And since it's travel clothing, that makes a lot of sense. And her stuff is really cool. It's beautiful.
Women, I got asked, sometimes you find women's expos, but higher end, nicer women's expos that travel people or business, find out attorneys where they're doing an expo at, and see if you can have a booth there as an idea or something.
No, Magic is too big and too expensive.
It's
We
too
were
big,
talking
yeah.
about that. She's saying
you want to
smaller.
be in front of the customer. At Magic, you're by the stores. So to me, I want to see you be in front of the customer. So find out who she is, where she's shopping, what events she's going to, and try to get in front of her that way. You want to be in front of the customer because you want to make that sale. And I wish I had the magic answer, but I think you can't give up.
I have a suggestion for her. It's just on the spot idea, okay? Most of us love kids, right? Most of us have kids, nieces and nephews. The idea that pops to my mind to give you is high-end private schools that are international. They're rich, Japanese, they're from Europe, they have a family night, to maybe talk to the principal, they're having a fashion show, just bring the, do maybe a discount or whatever. The parents will come there, you make kimonos. I had a student last year, she's Native American, she makes kimonos. She'll tell me because I talk about fashion in class and stuff like that. So just a thought, idea.
And you could also just send a cut of the fabric and just send cuts of the fabric to all these hotels and a sketch next to it and say, if they got to feel the fabric, maybe that will do something a little bit different. Handwritten letter to say, hey, drop this off. Giving a sample is expensive. But if you do cuttings of the fabric, put it on a card, hey, here's an idea. I make these fabrics. If you're interested in it, love to set up an appointment. I'm going to be around. Hey, I sent you the fabric. Want to see if you liked it. I don't know. Versus having a sample. Samples, I'm not giving away free stuff.
I'm really loving this hotel idea because you're providing some entertainment too, for their guests.
And there's women's groups. The Foundress is a women's group, women business owners, and they put on events. And maybe you can just say if you can have a rack of clothing there. We can sit and brainstorm locally, and you can also look at the idea for different chapters around and find ways of where your customer is going to be, what they do for work, and then hit them and just in a smaller way. That helps.
Hi, Mary. I want to get in front of the camera. Hey. So I love your suit. And what advice do you have? So I'm a consumer, not on the other end of it. what advice would you give a person who's looking for a suit? Maybe it's their first suit, and they live in Arizona.
Okay. So I'd ask them the purpose of the suit. Why are you wearing the suit? Right? You're getting married, job interview. My wife tells me I have to have one, whatever it is. What's the purpose of the suit? And then I'd be like, what do you like about your clothes? What suits do you have in your closet? What clothes do you wear? What brands do you shop at? Do you travel a lot? Are you sitting behind the desk? Do you go to formal events? Is this something you used to wear once or twice a year? Where do you shop? Kind of what's your style? So I kind of get to know you and what you like, because I'm not going to sell you a blue suit if all you wear is black. Or I'm not going to sell you a suit if you actually just need a sport coat. You're like, no, I just go to dinners. I don't wear a suit. I love wearing my jeans. So I kind of interview you and see your style and show ideas, and then kind of guide you that way. And as building a wardrobe, usually it's a blue or a gray, but sometimes if you don't wear it that often, let's have a little pattern. Let's have a little fun. If you're wearing it more for like parties and events, it's like have a little more fun versus if you're working as like an attorney or in an office, no offense, like maybe more conservative and you want to start building your wardrobe. So there's a lot of different ways that I kind of approach you.
It's their first suit, only one they have in their closet, and they're just starting. Like they're in college, just starting. Can you talk a little bit about how it drapes and all the other things?
So I gained a little LBs, so don't look at how my pants fit because I could afford to do some sit-ups. So I would start probably a navy, a dark navy, mid to dark. If he's a little younger, I might go a little happy in the color, so just slightly brighter. And if he's going to something more of a conservative world, I might go a little darker. If he's in advertising or just wants to have fun with his friends and going out, might go a little lighter and happier in the color. I pick 2 buttons. If the guy is under 5'7", I might do 1 button because it's also proportion. So you want less fabric here if you're a little shorter because you want your eyes to go up, okay? I pick usually a notch lapel here. This is a peak lapel, but I pick a notch lapel. I usually do just straight flat pockets like this. I'm wearing a double-breasted one, but I just do 2 buttons. What else do I do? I usually fully line it because it kind of lasts a little longer. If the fabric has a little bit more weight to it, not like heavy wool, but I do half line or no lining. So if you're a guy that sweats a lot or is hot a lot and you're not wearing the suit, traveling every day at the office and beating it up, then I no line it or half line it. So this is the lining. This is the lining. This fun fabric in here. Okay. So then sometimes we remove it and we clean finish on the inside. This fabric is light and more luxurious, and I'm afraid I'm going to rip it. And so if I made this for you or him, I'd be afraid to rip it, so I line everywhere. Okay. And it's fun to have like fun lining, so you pick kind of whatever you want. When you shop at the department store, you buy what they have, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Or whatever store. But if you make it, we kind of pick something more personality. If you're on stage and you're flailing your arms, I won't do something kind of bright and crazy unless that's kind of your style and you want to show off a little bit. My jacket has no vents, so I have a big butt and big thighs. And as a woman, we wear our suits a little shorter, and I don't want the vent in the back separating. But on men, I usually do side vents because it lays a lot cleaner. Pants, personal preference. Usually, I always do flat front, angled pockets. Unless you have thighs and a big butt, then I do besom pockets, which are a lot flatter because mine poke out, and there's nothing I can do to fix this. Zipper fly, kind of different things. Yeah, half line, but. And the fabric, like, I have some that you won't sweat a lot in. I have some that won't wrinkle. I have some that have stretch in it. I have some that, a variety of different, as I get to know him. But navy, vision of navy. Second would be gray. Before second, sometimes I'd give him a sport coat instead because just jeans and a jacket going out. You're welcome. Good? That was fun. Good question. You guys are so good. You have good questions.
Any other questions? Okay, well, that was really cool. Thank you again so much for doing
fun.
this. I learned a lot. I appreciate you. Thank you. Let's give her another round of applause.
Thank you.